Okay, there's a lot of miscellaneous tasks that I want to get accomplished today. There's some seedlings I want to get put into the ground. I want to clear out like the border of the garden. It has a lot of things that are starting to grow a bit too high and shading out different plants. I also want to plant some of the bigger crops in there like the pumpkin and the watermelon. I think I want to harvest some more leeks, and I don't know, I have a whole big list of things that we'll get through today. I was going to say that you probably wouldn't see much of Rocco today because he has a bit of a bum foot and I was planning on keeping him inside, but seems like he had other plans. He must have pushed himself through the gate. He was tired of being inside. Let's get things started. There is a chance of rain today, so we have to get as much as we can done before the rain might come. One of the first things I want to get accomplished is this tomato. I have let it get 2 large stems here, and I really just want it to be one going up along this stake, the bamboo stake. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it where it splits, and we're going to turn this into a whole new tomato plant. But it just kind of branches out right at that stem area. I'm just going to cut it off, and we're going to replant this somewhere else. I'm just taking off some of the lower leaves. And this tomato plant here, or this tomato branch, is perfectly fine to plant all of the little hairs that grow along the stem of the tomato. And I know I've said this before, they will grow into roots. So I can plant this down into the soil just to about here, and all little roots will come off of here. And we'll hopefully have even more tomatoes than we were originally planning on having. I have moved myself over into the vineyard garden. So I have this area back here that was meant to be for any of my extra plants or overflow plants that didn't fit into my typical or my regular garden. And that tomato that I just cut would be considered one of the overflow because I have so many tomatoes. My tomato bed is almost full. I have 2 spots left, and those are for some tomatillos. So I'm going to, along this fence, so half of that is weeded already and I've had cardboard down. The other half there I did try to do at the same time, but there were a couple big roots in there that I wasn't able to get up, and I just never tried again, and I didn't get Allie out here to help me. So that side is a bit of a mess, and that is actually the side that I want to plant that tomato on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and clear out that side of the fence and plant the tomato in there. I actually think this is going to be a bit more of a challenge than I originally thought. So we're just gonna cut this one, and I'll come back to you once I have a lot of it done. Okay, it is hot out here. I have gotten it cleared out. You can probably see my pile that's on the other side of the fence there. I have dug a hole for the tomato and watered it. So now I just need to grab that. Now it did take me some time to dig that out, but not a ton of time, but he has already wilted. He's looking really sad. I'm still gonna stick him in the ground, and hopefully in a couple days he'll perk up. So we'll see. It will go one way or the other. He'll either perk up or he won't make it, but he should make it. I will cut this root out. I did try and get it out with the shovel, but I wasn't strong enough. But for now, we're just gonna, I'm probably gonna lean him up against the fence. So I'm gonna go closer in here. And I've watered it in quite well, so he's gonna have lots of water to start to grow his roots. And that's it. He's just here. We're gonna hope that he perks up. And then once he starts to grow, we'll hook him along the fence here. while I'm over here, I'll just show you what the grapes are looking like. So they are all coming back. They're getting their green leaves and they're growing really well. Okay, so we are in the main garden again, and I've put my hat on because it's getting quite sunny and really hot outside and I don't want to get burnt. But we are going to tackle now these Cape gooseberry plants. They are just going crazy at the minute. They're like sprawling everywhere. So I need to figure out a way to tie them up and kind of keep them off of my peppers, but also off of like these beets that are growing down here. So I've never planted Cape gooseberries before, but they're just like, they're growing more and more stalks up from the ground. They're also branching off as they go up. They have just kind of exploded over the past like month or two, and they don't seem to be going much taller. They seem to be getting bushier, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I have cut off a few of the side shoots. This one here, I feel like could be a whole new plant, and it has the same like fuzzy stems like a tomato does, so I'm beginning to think that maybe I can pot these up. On this massive one, I'm just going through and I'm cutting off any of the little ones that are trying to shoot off in the center, and trying to get rid of some of the bottom leaves, as well as cut off some of these that have already started to grow that are just like too many here, and give it a bit more space so it has more airflow going through it. Whoops, I just broke this giant one off. Surely he can turn into another plant. I have 5 that I'm definitely going to plant, and then I have a whole handful of like these other ones that I can also plant. So it just will depend on how many pots I have that are big enough for them to go in. So with the Cape gooseberries that I was just tidying up, I'm not actually sure how many of you are familiar with them. You may know them as ground cherries as well. I'm not sure if they're exactly the same thing or if they're a little bit different, but they come in this casing here. And once it starts to get kind of papery, or they like easily come off of the branches or fall off, then you can just kind of like peel them open. And they have this nice yellow berry in the middle. They can make you sick if they are green, so you just want to wait until they're a nice yellow and then eat them. They taste like they have like a tart taste. Some of them I've noticed that if the outer casing is more papery, where it's starting to get a little bit see-through, they taste a little bit more like a tomato. But if they are yellow inside, their casing is just a little bit papery, they are more tart and sweet, and I like those a bit better. Okay, so I have my Cape gooseberries that I'm going to plant up or pot up, and I have a few pots. I'm just going to fill them up with soil and get them growing again, and maybe we can have some new plants. This is going to be the last one that I'm going to plant. I have 6, this will make 7 out of the cuttings that I had taken from the plants. Okay guys, so it is raining out here, but there is one really cool thing that I wanted to show you. About 6 months ago, I bought avocados, and the pits inside were already kind of split and it looked like they were already growing. So I tried to plant them and they sprouted. So I have 2 that have sprouted. One is a little bit bigger than the other, but the smaller one I'm just repotting into something bigger because it's really yellow and I think it needs a bigger pot, better nutrients. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked up too much about avocado trees and the things that they need, but I'm just up potting it now. And I wanted to show you what it looks like. I know it's yellow, but it actually, so it's sprouted from the seed here, and now it has all its roots on the bottom. And it's just growing up. It's a nice little tree. So I'm just up potting that now, and hopefully it will keep growing into something bigger. Same thing with my other one. So I'll let you guys know exactly how they're going, but hopefully they grow into something big. The next thing that we're going to do is to plant another courgette. This is a Balmoral courgette or zucchini. So they're like, we're like UFO shaped. I don't know how to explain it. I already have 3 of them planted. So these are all green zucchinis or green courgettes. I do also have a couple yellow ones left up on the deck, but I don't think they're quite big enough yet for me to put them in the ground without the pests getting to them. So I'm gonna wait a little bit longer, but this guy is definitely ready to go in the ground. I am trying something a little bit different this year. So last year I just had two zucchinis or courgettes, and they were in my raised beds and they took up so much space. So I actually had seen that you can stake them up. So as they grow, if you just keep tying them to the stake, and they'll grow vertical rather than just kind of sprawl all over the ground, and it saves a lot of space. I'm gonna go ahead and put the stake in for this guy and get him planted. And just for you that are watching, no, I don't have any sort of hammer or whatever, the mallet to pound this in. So I'm just using another piece of board, and it works just as well. That's how I did those 3, and it's fine. All done. I've just moved over ever so slightly. As you can see, I just planted the zucchini right there. We're just moving over to the next part of the bed, and that's where I wanted to plant my all of my black beans. I have put a ton more in some seed trays, and I'm trying to grow more, but out of the ones that we did the experiment with, I just have 10 that are good enough to go into the ground, but 10 is more than nothing. If we can grow any, that's a success in my book. So let's get these black beans planted. I give up. I'm just sitting down on the ground. Ooh, that bird came awfully close to me. One of the kids told me that the fantails swoop low by you because they try and get, when you move around, all the bugs from the ground fly up, and the fantails will want to come down and swoop and get all those bugs that fly up as you're walking by or moving around. So I was going to plant and tell you a story at the same time when I was planting those beans, but it turns out I can't plant and talk at the same time. I haven't told you much about where I grew up or about my childhood at all, but one thing when planting those beans I did think of is when I was younger. I grew up in upstate New York on 14 acres of land that my grandfather owned. So he would come over every day, and he did have quite a large garden down by our house, and one of the things he always used to plant were green beans. And I remember every summer going down and picking loads and loads of green beans, and I absolutely loved eating them raw. So my mother would send us down a lot of times to pick them for dinner as well, and I would just kind of be munching on them as I was like snapping off the ends getting ready to cook. So my grandfather used to have a really nice garden when I was growing up, and my grandparents on my other side of the family as well, my dad's parents, they used to garden as well. So gardening seems to be in my blood. So maybe that's why I'm really enjoying it, is just because it's a part of who I am. But I do really find a lot of joy in watching everything grow and just growing as many things as I can. It's so exciting to just try all the different things and see what I can get to grow. So yeah, let's move on to the next thing. These are all my indeterminate tomatoes here, so they will continue to grow. They'll even get a lot taller than these bamboo stakes that I've put in the ground already. What I want to do is I'm just going to try and keep them into one main stem and let them grow up as far as they can on the bamboo, and then I'll have to sort something else out because they will grow much taller than this bamboo stake. But with tomatoes, the twine and the bamboo stakes are my best friend. So I just like to double up the twine, and that is because I'm afraid that if I do a single layer of it, that it will just kind of cut through the tomato. So I double it up, and I do leave it a little bit loose so that it can move a little bit in the wind. And I also tie them lightly, if in a bow if I can, just so that I can untie them and retie them as I need to. My little volunteer tomatoes are doing quite well, aren't they? That is actually going to be it for today. I got a bit distracted and now I've lost a bit of my motivation. So I will catch you in the next one. Bye guys.